Hey, I'm Pam Pryor, CFO to Entrepreneurs, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to thrive, not just survive, in recessions and even pandemics. Stick to the end because you can do it and stay in full alignment with your business values. Hey, so this recession word, the big R, keeps coming up, and I want to give you some pointers on this because I've been talking to a couple of clients about what this means financially for their businesses, and it's a legitimate concern. The thing about a recession, though, number one, nobody really knows if we're in one or not, right? It's all based on formulas and mathematics. And the reality is whenever we cross that line and it becomes a recession, it's no different than it was the day before, right? It's just now called a recession because mathematically we crossed some line. So here's the thing. Economies come and go, shift and ebb. We saw the biggest example of this at COVID, right? So when COVID came along, I actually did a couple of YouTube videos on this. And as business owners, what we need to be aware of to not necessarily just survive a COVID or a recession, but really to thrive in any economic cycle is to understand what the cash flows are doing in our business. Where does our cash come from and where does it go? Now, what I do with a lot of my clients is we go through an exercise to draw their business model. And the reason I do this is important, and it really becomes important when we're talking about a recession or a pandemic or anything. And I'm going to give you a really concrete example. One of my clients needs to hire teachers as labor, okay? And they have parents paying for children to be tutored. All right, so those are the two variables there, right? So if we drew their business model, a very simplified version of their business model, over here they would have teachers that come into the business. We mix the special sauce, give them everything they need to know how to teach, etc., in our particular way, and then they go teach out here to the clients, okay? So we have the people we pay, we have making our special sauce, and we have giving that special sauce to our clients. Now, the interesting thing about cash is it flows the opposite direction, okay? So over here we have the clients. They give us money. We take some of it, hopefully put some in the bank, and give the rest out to the teachers. Now, in this model, as the person with the special sauce, you're balancing these two things. I've got to have enough teachers to serve my students, and I've got to have enough students to keep my teachers busy. So what does a recession mean to that? Because she's drawn out this model and has a real understanding of what she's supplying and what her clients are demanding, we can now go look at those two components and say, how do we become, in this case, recession-proof? Or in the case of the pandemic-proof? Or who knows, possibly even grow more as a result of one or two of these things. Okay, so let's just take an example and take the recession. If it has occurred or it hasn't occurred, nobody really knows. But what we decided was, hey, we know that the money coming in might drop a little bit because we know and drew in our business model what the income levels were of our customers. Which parents are paying us right now for their kids to come get the tutoring? And it's a middle class to lower middle class set of people. So we know right away, one of the things we can start doing is targeting people that are a little further up the economic chain in higher middle class or low upper class, maybe some private schools that can afford it, that will stay sort of immune to the recession a little bit longer and really do want and care that their kids are getting the right tutoring and the right teaching. So there's one thing we can do. We can take an action right there. We don't just go, hey, oh my God, there's a recession, everything's falling apart. We say, oh, there's a recession. What does it mean? People will have less money to spend on discretionary things. Tutoring could be considered discretionary for middle or lower class, but once you move up the levels, that clientele might consider it non-discretionary, that they have to do it. Because everybody's enough level is different, right? What's discretionary is different depending on where you are on the economic ladder. So there's that. So that's one thing we can do is start targeting some higher income folks. And if you still want to make sure that you're servicing these people who need it, maybe you can even do that in a way that allows you to scholarship some people for a period of time, right? So it's not just all about getting more money. It's about keeping the flow, keeping your clients happy, serving with that servant's heart to the people you want to serve to, And you can come up with all sorts of creative ideas to do that. One of them, you charge more for the higher income people. Use some of that income to subsidize or, scholarship for a little while some of your middle income folks. So that's one idea. What about this side of the table? All of a sudden we said, hey, wait a minute. Recession's interesting. Teachers are going to want to make more money on the side. We all know, I think, that teachers are not paid well enough for what they do. And as a result, it's certainly during the summer, they always have to take on extra jobs. But maybe now during the actual school terms, they'll need to take on some second jobs to be able to patch in the holes where the recession's hitting them. So now that we've identified those two things in our business model, we have actions to take. We have levers we can move. We have decisions we can make. This is why it's so critical to understand how your cash flows in and out, who you're paying, where they come from, who's paying you, and where they come from. And really have that embedded in your head so that every time something new comes up like this, you can go, oh, let me look at all my variables. Let me look at my clients, how they're stratified. Let me look at my vendors, how they're stratified, and come up with the actions that I need to take. So that's your tip for today. That's how, in my opinion, you deal with a recession. You don't panic. You sit back and go, let me look at my business model and how I can actually thrive during whatever the economic time is. I hope that video was helpful, and I hope you subscribe to my channel for more information on finances in your business.